good to go.
All right. So lunchtime live with Colton and Brandon. Our format today is going to be a little bit different. Normally what we've done in the past is kind of open it up to people to come and join the party and ask questions or, make comments, whatever. Not that we get a lot of comments, but we do get questions. So, but this time we're just going to do a little video recording. That way we can move around on different screens, and if anything goes wrong, we can edit it. So we talked about last time AI development timelines, and kind of gave some real world experiences, what people are doing with AI right now. So we decided that we would get a little bit more into the weeds and do AI prompting. So obviously you've heard a lot about prompting. Everybody's talking about prompting, how to do it right, what it means, all that kind of stuff. And so we'll kind of dive into that. We'll both take some time. I'll go first and really talk about Microsoft Bing. So if you look at some of the things that have happened just in this year, it's a lot. There's a lot going on with AI, and everybody's kind of like racing to figure out where their position is and what they're going to build. And I think we mentioned that last time, but so we all heard of ChatGPT, and as soon as that happened, they'd already been invested with Microsoft. Microsoft had invested in OpenAI, who owns and created ChatGPT. But I think it was somewhere at the first of the year, maybe January, Microsoft put a bunch of money into it, like $10 billion to invest in it. And basically what that was is like a 49% cut in equity. And so they have a lot of say in it. And a lot of that investment money was going to go toward just building it, developing it out, making it better. And so over the next couple of years, we're going to see. But what that actually did is made Microsoft a huge player in the market. In fact, if you look at the top, the big three, which is Microsoft, Google, and I would even throw in like maybe Adobe. Those are the players that put Microsoft easily on the top, because with Google, they've actually bought into Anthropic, and they were going to use Bard as kind of their search engine, but that hasn't really, I haven't seen much on it. Last time I tried it, which was a couple of weeks ago, it didn't really work that well. So I definitely believe that Microsoft at this point is on top. So they've promised that they're going to continue on with the Azure cloud status, and so things are kind of status quo with that, but they're going to build a lot in the next little while. And so what we wanted to do was go through. Now, when they first came out, they said that you had to go get a Microsoft account. So everything that I do right now is going to be on Bing. That's where they've decided to put their ChatGPT. So if you're on ChatGPT, keep this in mind. If you're on the actual website, which you can go to, if you're not paying a subscription, that means that you are only getting information from September of 2021. After that, everybody that's buying a subscription will get all the latest information. However, with Microsoft, what they did is they said, okay, we're buying this huge portion of it. We're going to put the actual latest information. So all of the data sets that have actually been put into to ChatGPT, the current and latest information will actually be on Bing. So that's why I'm using Bing right now, because I'm not paying a subscription for anything. So I'll do my prompting based on that. If you go to Microsoft Edge, there's a little sidebar, and on the sidebar there's a kind of a beta test. So you'll see the chat, but you'll also see what's called Compose. And Compose I've actually used quite a bit because it allows you to create, it could be, trying to think of the first thing that was on there. Well, there's blogs, there's ideas, there's a few different things, but you can go through and it gives you some prompts already in there that you can just select. So that way you don't have to have everything set up and like we're going to do today. So you kind of just have to decide which one you want to use. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use chat, and we can see this here. If you go directly to bing.com, you can actually get that on Chrome now. I think that's a new advent here, but we'll go into chat. And this is where, if it comes up, we'll start. Okay. So once you're on chat, you can actually choose your conversation style. So what I've heard a lot of is some people are choosing more balance just because they don't need all the creativity. If you want more creative type prompts, this is actually working. So I've seen a difference between these two, but more precise, either I'm not prompting it correctly or that doesn't really work like it's supposed to. So I tend to use only creative and balanced. And so what we'll do is we're going to actually prompt this to create a job description. So let's say you're in a company, you're over HR, you want to create a prompt to send out to Indeed or something like that. So what I would do, let me get to the right spot here. This is one method, and keep in mind there's unlimited ways that you could do this. But what this will do is also when you're doing other things, it will help you understand, okay, well, this is how it's working and thinking. And so it will actually help you to do other things like create a blog or something like that. The first thing that we want to do is we want to prompt it in a specific way so that it writes it out correctly and it looks like it looks good, right? It's got headers and different sizes of fonts, and we'll get to that point. So the first thing we want to do is keep in mind the way chat thinks is very linearly. So if I say to it something like, I'm in HR, I need to create a job description or a job posting. It might just go ahead and start prompting here, but you can stop it if it's not what you know. What I'm trying to do is let it know what I'm thinking, because the more information you give it, the better it works. And if you see a lot of people out there, they're like, well, I went in there and I prompted it and it didn't work the way it was supposed to. And it's like, no, you didn't work the way you were supposed to, really. So I'm going to stop this. So you can actually stop it because I don't need that information. I just need it to know what I'm about to do. So the other thing that I can do is I work with www.zibtek.com. Please research this. Because I also want it to know what I'm doing and who I am. That makes a big difference. And maybe not in this so much, but again, I'm just trying to make some general information, give you general information so you understand how it's thinking. And again, it's going to do its thing. So I'll stop it. But what I want to do is give it some information. And I've already put together like a format, a guideline. And so I won't use all of that right now, but I'll take that in later. And so I just need to get some information like so I need to create the job post for an accountant.
So you missed the 2 in there after I need. After I need.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. So you can actually, there's a couple of different things. So you can prompt it like you're talking to it so it understands, but it also understands just words. Like you wouldn't even have to have commas or punctuation and little things like that. It already knows what I was trying to say, but I appreciate, the correction because that's a good point. That's actually something important to bring up. And there's a difference between chat and image creators. Like Microsoft Bing has now incorporated DALL-E, and the way that you prompt that is completely different. Like you want all kinds of very clear, descript, flowery prompts so it knows exactly what you want, and it can start to imagine. But this, you can't actually do too much, and you can prompt it too much so that you confuse it. And I think that's what people are doing when they say, you know, this isn't working right. Like you're either giving it too much information or you're not clear about what you want. And so if I put it in there, okay, now it knows I'm posting this about an accountant. The next thing I want is give me a job purpose. Give me, let's see, how can I say that better? Give me a description of the job purpose. And then I'll prompt it that way. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to read it. Okay, that looks pretty good. And so the next thing I'm going to want to do is ask it, because if I don't know some of the best things about this position or common things within the market, I'm asking chat to help me to figure that out. So what are some job duties? Yeah, I'll just say duties. Now no, because it knows what I'm asking, and we'll see what it comes up with. Okay, so that's all it's going to give me. Now, the way that if you want it to just do bullet points, you can ask it to do that. You can see here there's references on here. So that's one thing that Bing has done, is they've actually incorporated these references. So you can actually go in there and you can look at it and make sure it's correct, because not everything on chat right now is correct. Yeah. It's going to get better over time, but people were finding that there's just random jargon that it comes up. Like this morning I was doing it, and it right in the middle, it was like, hey, here's how to make popsicles. And I was like, what? That has nothing to do with it. So every once in a while it glitches. This is a way for people to go in and double check it. So it actually did give me quite a few, which is awesome. So what I'm doing is I'm just building out this job description so it knows when I ask it to actually create it, what I want it to do. Okay, now, here's another important thing that I haven't been doing, just because maybe I feel under the gun, but, oh shoot. Okay, so we've gotten to the bottom of our words, the amount of words that they offer. So there's 4,000. So we're going to actually have to sweep this. There used to be a little broom here, but they've changed it to new topics. So I'm just going to restart it. Keep in mind, it still knows what those prompts were. So it's still following me. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask it, okay, let's do, give me a list of accounting requirements for the job. See what it gives me. I'm going off of the old Bing. This is actually brand new, so they must have had a recent update.
Yeah, it looks like with the latest update, it's giving you 5 prompts within a topic is what the latest version is. That's the fun part with AI, since it's new and cutting edge. It's
constantly changing. Because that used to be 30.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, more people are using it, and they're obviously going to have to slim it down somehow. Either you're going to have to buy subscriptions or something. Earlier when I did it, it was actually giving me descriptions. So it would say a degree in accounting, and then it would go on to describe. So I would have to go back in and say, hey, give me that list again, but don't describe it. So you can do little things like that. So in an interest of time, I'll do a couple more of these. Let's see what's one that's good. Okay. Based on www.zibtek.com. Normally I wouldn't have to type that in because it already knows I've asked it to research that. What is the culture? Will you write me the short description? All right. So now, because I want to add that right to my job posting, it's going to put that in there. And typically it's pretty accurate, actually, sometimes in a scary way, very accurate.
So this is like an important thing, right, to note with, I mean, depending on the tool that you're using, some of them have certain prompt limits, right? So knowing that right now, what we're working with Bing, right, is maybe trying to create a job description for, like for an accountant that we're trying to hire, right? We could either try to get that full job requirement document created or job request, created within those 5 prompts, or maybe you want just the description, right? You could use all 5 prompts, and then you could start over and use the next 5 prompts to do the requirements or day-to-day duties. And then you could use it for, the 5 prompts again for describing Zibtek as a company. So there's different ways to use it, right? Like depending on the number of prompts, right? I think in the scenario that you tested before, you had 30 prompts. So you're able to just go through and really piece this thing out, but knowing that we've got this 5 prompt limit, you can either try to get it all done within the 5 or, look at sections of it within 5. So that way you kind of turn that 5 into maybe 15 or 20 points.
And it's still threading them together.
Exactly.
So the information is still there. And really that's kind of how you train your chat. I don't know how far that goes back or what their plan is with that moving forward. So in the interest of time, again, you kind of see this process. You can really make it a lot easier if you already have it built out. And so let's say you do this on a daily basis. Well, this doesn't seem like it's going to save you that much time, but if you build it out so that you have a guideline already, and all you have to do is throw in a few ideas, that's going to save you tons of time, tons of writing. So I'm going to show you, I'll just copy and paste from what I've created previously, and what it's going to include, given the information that we just prompted it with, I'll just pop this in here. And so you will see, let's see, yeah. So if you look at these title prompts, so it's saying, I want it to look like if you give me a result, I can just copy and paste this into my job description. And so, it's going to say H2 is a job title, so that's going to be a big header. But then when you get down to like some of these other ones, oops, I just scroll down. You see an H3, which is going to be a different font size. So hopefully what we've done here in setting up this guideline, we get something that we want. So see again, it already knows that I wanted to create a job description. It's got the main job, accountant. It's put a nice little summary at the top. Now, whether it puts it all into the correct format, that's what we need it to do. And again, this is all part of a process. So we've done these where we do a blog, on a consistent basis. And so we've created a formula that all we have to do is pop in some of these H2, H1, whatever, pop that in, and it automatically pulls up. Now, we have to go back in and make sure that the content is correct. We have to make sure that, the grammar is accurate. But that's compared to what you would normally have to do with that stuff, which is hours worth of work. That could be a matter of a few minutes. So It didn't specifically put it like I like it. So let's see if we can correct it. So I'm just asking it to kind of reconfigure that and see what it comes up with.
There we go. It's getting some formatting.
Yeah. Again, was that chat's fault? In this case, yes, it was chat's fault. No, just kidding. No, that was actually my fault, right? Because I didn't tell it exactly what I wanted. It was like, I'll give you what I think you need, but it doesn't know exactly. So one small tweak on that, and it knows exactly what I want. And there it is. You can see the headers, working conditions, and you've got the bullet points, makes it very clear, very concise. I could actually go in there and say, hey, and Colton will get into this a little bit more, acting as a specific person, but here's who I want you to act like and what I want you to do with that. So we could take this information, let's say we just flipped it, new topic, we copy and pasted what it just gave me, put it back in and said, now make it funny, right? Make it humorous, like I'm a specific type of humor. Or the more information and the more detailed you get on that description, the more it's going to know, right? It knows humor. Well, what kind of humor? Like, are we talking clean humor? Are we talking, like a specific comedian? That's how specific you can get with this.
Okay.
So that's kind of that got us to our result that we wanted. So that's good news. You can kind of see how that goes. You can use this format in other things like I said, blogging and stuff like that. So Colton's going to go through some stuff and kind of build on that.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, to build off of this, we could probably let's clear it and do a new topic. Within my role, what I do at Zibtek is I interface with all of our clients that we bring on. Our clients obviously range pretty wide, all the way from people that have never worked with software, aren't familiar with any kind of software lingo or terms, all the way to very, very, very technical people, that already worked with software, maybe very, very advanced, very technical. And so working with those different range of people, working with them within that jargon and using these different technologies and software platforms, the way that I have to communicate with these people and explain things ranges quite a bit, right? So obviously, if I'm talking to the more technical person, if I'm talking about some more technical concepts, we can just talk about them freely and we're good to go. Again, on the other side, we talk to clients that haven't worked with software very, very in depth. So, as we're building software out for them, there may be occurrences where we have to use certain kind of processes or tools that they're not familiar with. And with my time and my experience, I think I've gotten pretty good at being able to explain those things. But there are still times where maybe I'm trying to explain something like Kubernetes to somebody. I can kind of explain it to them straight off, but then it's trying to bridge that gap of using terms to explain another term, and they don't understand those terms, right? Yeah. So you have to kind of work backwards into it.
And you don't know what they don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things that's kind of funny is as a good baseline is like the term like explain to me like I'm a 10-year-old, or like when I was in the military, I had a drill sergeant that used to refer to it as Barney style. He'd break it down Barney style for you. So you kind of hit at that very base level of saying, let's just explain it to you almost like you're a kid. That everyone was a kid at one point, right? So even if you are smart and or know a lot about this topic, sometimes it's still good to kind of have it broken down in a very simple aspect, right? So a good example of this is what we can prompt it with just, can you explain what Kubernetes is to me?
Okay. Do we want to do creative, balanced, or more precise?
We'll do balance to start off here. Yeah.
So explain. Oh, wow. what Kubernetes is. Just like that.
Perfect. Yep. Alrighty. So as we get this right, it's given a really solid breakdown. Talks about grouping containers, basically grouping containers, a group of computers to run an application. Basically grouping resources together to, instead of having one server or computer handle a bunch of operations, you group several containers together to take care of that for you, right? But as you read this, especially if you're not like a technical nerd guy, if you're not in our field, it's probably very boring to read. You may not understand like what is a container, containerized applications. There's all these kind of terms and phrases in here that maybe you're not even familiar with. So one, as you're reading this, or if I'm explaining Kubernetes to you in this fashion, one, I probably don't have your attention because it's boring. And then two, there's probably some terms and phrases in here you don't understand. So another way that we could do it is, let's go new topic and we'll do the creative side to it. So I think that one does a better job. Now you can do more creative. Now we can do explain Kubernetes to me as if I were a 5th grader. Like the cyborg prompt. I wonder what that gives you.
Yeah.
It's saying cyborg. I've never seen that one.
Go back to that.
Exactly. Awesome. So yeah, as we read this one, obviously right off the bat, we can see it's not using any kind of crazy terms. Instead of using containers and servers, it's using terms like computer, and just like computer program. And then let's see what it gets into. Captain of a ship.
Captain of a ship.
And the beauty is it'll do it different every time. Last time I did this, it talked about it in terms of Lego pieces. So it breaks it down, tells it to you in a very simple term. Talks about a captain of a ship and boats, and everyone's familiar with those. So one, is way more fun to read. I mean, it's interesting. I always get a kind of a chuckle out of what it's able to come up with. And then two, it breaks it down in terms that everyone understands, makes it very easy. So sometimes you can kind of work your way up from this, or even just this explanation will be enough. So I've found when I'm trying to bridge a gap that sometimes is a big gap, if I'm working with someone that's really not technical, has no experience in software, and I'm trying to explain something maybe a little bit more in depth, or kind of in the weeds, maybe explaining like, okay, what is PHP? Okay, then what is Laravel? Okay, how do they work together? Sometimes as I'm talking to people about some of these things, I'll see that their eyes are glazing over and they're like, I'm like, okay, let me think. And then usually it's on myself to break it down into these terms, but I'll use this as a tool a lot of the time if I'm communicating with people over text, or even I'll even shoot it up during a call. Be like, all right, let's try this term. I think it's a great way it's a great tool to be used when you're communicating with people from different fields and different levels of knowledge within a certain field. Another thing that I've used is to use it in a way that helps you learn, right? Like me for example, I like using examples as a way to learn, right? So some people like to see an image, right? Like to see it happening. Some people like to have it explained. There's all these different styles of learning and ways people learn well. For me, you can talk to me about a concept all day, and that's great, but I don't feel confident about it until I can see it in use, until I see it happening. So that's a way that I've used ChatGPT or Bing or any of these AI softwares. A lot of the time is I'll do my research, I'll look something up, but if I feel like I still don't truly know, it is such a fast way to go right in here and just say, hey, give me an example of Kubernetes being used. Or like another good example is, let's say you want to know the difference between, if we're talking about like Scrum or agile methods for software development, you're like, well, what is an epic? What is a user story? Well, if I explain that to you, right, I can give you what is an epic, what is a user story, what are these things? And it's really easy to go find on the internet definitions of these different things. But for me personally, if I really want to know and have confidence in my understanding of what those two different terms are, I start with the definition, and then next I'll come over to something like ChatGPT or Bing Chat, and say, hey, can you give me examples of these and explain the differences? And then boom, instantly, right? It gives. So I think it's, that's really what we wanted to cover today is obviously you can use this as a search engine, right? You can say, hey, what is Kubernetes, right? It works, it gets the job done. But then there's this, these creative prompts or twists you can put on it to say, explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, or, if you're talking about a job description, we could have said, hey, I want to hire an accountant, give me a job description for that, and been done with it.
Yeah, you can do, and it would probably give you something pretty decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, the further you go along in that process, the better information you're going to get. And the last thing I was thinking of about prompts is where everybody's talking about prompts and prompting correctly and prompt engineer, like, oh, I have to be a prompt engineer now?
Yeah.
No. If you don't know how to prompt something, ask it. That's a technique people are using. Like, ask it, what should I ask you to properly prompt to get this, and explain what you want. Like, treat it literally like it's your friend and you're talking to it. I know it seems weird, but I've had some really cool and strange conversations with Bing that I won't even go over, but that's really, it's helpful to know that that's how it's thinking and that's how it operates.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, looks like we're
at the end there.
Over, so it's a good place to wrap up.
All right, guys, thanks for watching this, and catch us next time. See you later.
Bye.